I did my paper on Modern Family, which is a sitcom that is still airing. It's in its 7th season. It's one of the most popular sitcoms on television today. The reason why I did this for my paper is because I was actually looking up the ratings because it always makes me laugh, so I wanted to see if it was well rated, and I saw all these positive comments about Modern Family being funny and Modern Family being progressive, and there was one comment about a controversial issue that Modern Family includes in its show, which is homosexuality. So after I read the comment, reading that it was an abomination and all that, I continued reading the comments, and there was some people that were like, I don't exactly support gays, but that never bothers me in the show. So it got me thinking, with the gay couple being so prominent in the show, how does the show manage to keep people watching, keep coming back with it's showing so much homosexuality? It has so Modern Family is a mockumentary, which is basically set up in a way that it makes fun of the way a documentary runs. So it's supposed to be a documentary about a family, and it's about Jay Pritchett's family. Well, Jay Pritchett is married to a much younger woman who happens to be Colombian and got her citizenship through the marriage, named Gloria. And Gloria has a son named Manny from her first marriage. And together they just had a baby named Joe. Stemming from that, Jay has 2 children who are grown, and the first name is Claire. And Claire is married to Phil Dunphy, who is a real estate agent, and together they have 3 children, which are Haley, Alex, and Luke. The other child that Jay has, his name is Mitchell. And Mitchell is who I basically based my paper around, Mitchell and Cameron. They are 2 men who happen to be married in the 6th season. They are gay, and together they adopted a Vietnamese baby named Lily. The show highlights just everyday problems that any family would face. It keeps it realistic, which I think is part of the reason why viewers keep coming back. And it also is relatable, so people can relate to the issues going on TV. But it also highlights the problems that Mitchell and Cameron face as a gay couple in today's society. So for my method for this paper, I decided that I would go back to my hometown, which is Southern in the Bible Belt, and tends to be pretty conservative. People voice their opinions openly, so I knew going into this that I would get some opinions that didn't agree with the show. I decided to interview 10 of my closest family and friends that I knew would be honest with me, and I would ask them if they liked Modern Family, and if they did, how did their view of homosexuality play into it? Besides that, I watched 12 episodes, 2 from each season. The 7th season hasn't began. And I studied what they do to make it funny, what ways they go about creating the humor, and I also focused on how much they highlight the gay couple, if they played the stereotypes of gay couples, and things like that. So the first actually I won't do interviews. The first thing I would like to talk about in ways that they make it funny is preconceived schemas. So Modern Family relies a lot on preconceived schemas that the audience is already supposed to know. The first, of course, being the way the show is made. So the audiences have a preconceived schema of a documentary, where they're expecting one camera, where they're expecting to follow the day-to-day life of someone, and that's how Modern Family goes about making the show, making fun of a documentary and making it a mockumentary. So if the audience doesn't know what a documentary is, the show may not make sense. They may not understand why this family is being highlighted, why there's only one camera, why they talk into the camera. They have sessions that pull away from the actual scene, and it focuses just on them talking. So if you don't have the preconceived schema of a documentary, that may not make sense. Another schema that Modern Family relies on is the schema of family. You know, everyone has their preconceived schema of family, have what they believe, and Modern Family plays on that. You know, there's 3 different kind of families in this. There's a blended family with a much older man and a young woman. Then you have the typical family with the 3 children, and the children are much different. Haley is extremely into fashion, very self-centered, loves to, work with makeup and make herself look pretty. Alex is very smart, very focused on college, very she's not very social. She likes to depend on books and school, and she's just very, very focused on becoming successful. And Luke is kind of the joke of the family. He's kind of the dumb one, the one that makes dumb decisions, that makes the family laugh. And so they pull from each kind of family, each kind of kid, and they blend it. And then they throw the homosexuality in there, which, to be honest, is one of the reasons why I started watching. I wanted to see the aspects they took, the angles they took on the gay family. I knew that other shows had done it before, but they had never had 2 gay people together raising a child. I thought that was extremely interesting. So they pull on every different schemas for families and they put it into one show. And that is one reason why people keep coming back, because there is such different kind of families involved. Another schema, the one that I focus mainly on in my paper, is the schema of gay men. Cameron is more flamboyant, I guess you would say. He cries, he's emotional, he loves pink, he loves everything, but he's also a football coach. He's very into football. So, I think that's very interesting. And then Mitchell, on the other hand, doesn't fit the gay man schema. And the incongruity there is what makes him so funny. He has a low voice, he dresses manly, he's a businessman, and the gay man schema is to be flamboyant and wear tight clothing and just be really out there, high-pitched voice, scared of everything, and Mitchell's the complete opposite of that. And so Modern Family really relies on your preconceived ideas of gay men to make Mitchell and Cameron funny. Now I'd like to move on to the type of humor found in the show. My first interview consisted of an interview with Mary, and Mary is a close friend. I changed her name due to the purpose of the paper. She was aware that I would be changing her name and that she would be quoted. So I asked Mary if she liked Modern Family. And she really enjoys the show and she tries to watch it as much as she can. Then I asked for her standpoint on gay marriage, which seemed to really throw her off a lot, even though I told her what my paper was about. She got a little hesitant on what to say, but I asked her to be honest. And she replied that, she was religious, so she couldn't support it because of religious reasons, but she wasn't going to be out there picketing or anything like that. So then I asked her, then what makes Modern Family okay? Are you uncomfortable watching it ever? Do you ever consider your religious reasons when you're watching the show? And the main quote I took from her was, for the most part, I forget that they're even gay. I think it's because the show is, how do I put this, unexpected. It's like every event that happens is so out of the blue. So what Mary was referring to is the incongruity theory of humor. And the incongruity theory is probably the most popular type of humor. It stems from an unexpected twist in a story or a punchline or a conversation. So it's basically where you're expecting something and then something happens, or 2 schemas don't line up, like Mitchell being a gay man but being very masculine. Mary couldn't think of an example at that point, but she mentioned one later on post-interview. And she wanted to talk about an episode 5 in season 2. So Cameron and Mitchell are looking for a preschool for Lily, and they go interview for Wagon Wheel Preschool, which is your average preschool, and the interview goes great, and Cameron loves it, and he decides that that's where they should send Lily. But Mitchell is set on going to a preschool that is going to set Lily up for something great. So Mitchell says that they should go to the Harvard of preschools. And it has a very low acceptance rate, and you have to go through an interview process to get into it. So Cameron eventually agrees to go, and they are waiting for their interview, and they start thinking, because they fall in love with the school and how beautiful it is. And they start thinking, we are the minority. We are two gay men with an adopted foreign child, so we should get in. We have a lot different about us. Well, they're still waiting for their appointment, and a white woman walks in with a black baby. And they're still thinking, we still have the upper hand because we're two gay men with an adopted child, and she's a white single mother with a black baby. So they're really thinking they still have it. And then the white woman's lesbian partner comes in a wheelchair, and she is paraplegic, and she is also black. And they realize there that they don't have the power of being the minority anymore. Mary said she never expected that. Then she never expected them to put two such insane situations together that it just makes you laugh. So the incongruity of the two situations really made the humor happen there. Sorry. The next person I interviewed was a good friend named Jake. He is around my age, and of course I changed his name for the interview purpose. I asked him if he liked Modern Family, and he gave the standard answer that it was his favorite show, and he watched it every time it was on. I asked him for his stance on gay rights, and he actually surprised me. He supported it to an extent, but his family was very against it. They didn't talk about it. If they did, it was in a very negative light. And so, but they still all watched Modern Family together. So I asked him, what do you think, why do you like Modern Family? Why does your family like Modern Family? And what he told me would fall into the relief theory. He told me that he loved the fact that it displayed a gay couple in such a way that they were faithful and in love. They weren't, a disaster in a marriage, and they were able to love a child and raise her in a way that was positive. And he said it was just nice to see that on television because it lifted the tension off the subject of gay marriage and their differing opinions. And sometimes he said it was nice to see it because sometimes his parents would talk about that it was nice to see a gay family on Modern Family function in such a way that it shed a positive light on homosexuality. And it makes him feel more comfortable voicing his opinion about his positivity towards the subject with his family. He also said that he thinks that if more shows produce this kind of attitude toward homosexuality, it would help shine a light that gay people just want to be accepted and not run the world with their crazy agenda. Modern Family has a purpose, and Jake made me realize that as well. They have a purpose with the gay couple, with the older man and younger woman. They have a purpose with everything they do. They're trying to take a step forward in the progression of equality and acceptance. And I think they do a really good job with that. They present both marriages in such a positive light that you're like, maybe it is normal. Yes, there's an age gap. Yes, they're the same sex, but on Modern Family, it seems to work, and it sends a vibe of acceptance because they're finally exposed to the fact, people are finally exposed to the fact that it's normal and it's healthy, and it's not what you've heard that homosexuals are people who can't be happy and they're always going to be promiscuous. No, they're functioning as a healthy and happy couple. Another person I also interviewed was Sarah, and it made her question, why did I ever have a problem in the first place? She said, I never realized they could be normal like that. For some reason, she thought gay people acted completely different than heterosexuals. And she said that she was really, really happy to see it on Modern Family because it opened her eyes. She'd always been extremely closed-minded towards the idea. And after watching Modern Family, she feels more accepting towards gay people and not as awkward when she stands around them. or when she is around them. So that's another thing that Modern Family incorporates. I was really impressed by the amount of interviews that I had that admitted that Modern Family had opened a door of insight on homosexuality. I think that's really important. I interviewed Laura. She's 21 years old, and I grew up with her. We discussed Modern Family a lot, back and forth through text. We're always laughing. And I asked her if she ever second-guessed the homosexuality in the show. And she said at first she had her second guesses. She felt a little weird watching two men function in a romantic way. When she turned on the show the first time, she actually started watching it in the first season. The first couple she actually was introduced to was the gay couple. And she turned it off. And, you can't blame someone if they don't agree with it. They're going to turn it off. But she saw the show later down the road, and she was already invested in it. So when the gay couple came on, she didn't really see. She didn't really care. She was already so invested in the show, and the more she watched, the more she realized that she wanted more spotlight on the gay couple. They're actually her favorite characters. And so though the show's humor is something to talk about, of course, its ratings are through the roof. It has over, millions of viewers, but the impact that it's had on, equality and shining a light on homosexuality in such a way that people can see that maybe it's not as bad as they think is really important, because homosexuality isn't a topic that's easy to talk about with someone who doesn't agree with it, but Modern Family does that, and they open a door. The next interview I had was with Cole, and he didn't have an opinion on gay marriage. He said he would never, do it, but he had no problem with people living their life the way they wanted to. And, he was talking about how people made a big deal when Modern Family came out with homosexuality and they panicked, but he just laughed because as he watched, he realized something. He was like, wow, I would never do this as a father. And listening to him talk about this brought forth the superiority theory, which is where you're watching something and it makes you laugh because the character does something dumb or something that you just realize that you would never do, and it makes you feel superior to them. You laugh at their screw-ups. The example that Cole gave actually happens in Season 6, Episode 8, and Lily has developed a really bad attitude with Cameron and Mitchell. And so she won't do anything they say, and then they're trying to go to a nice dinner, and she won't dress correctly. So Mitchell and Cameron decide to host the dinner at their home, but before they get there, they're going to wear dresses, so Lily can realize that you can't dress any way you want to. It just isn't right. So they're dressed in dresses, and Lily's embarrassing and is really embarrassed, and she's yelling at them, and then the family comes over before Mitchell and Cameron can change. So they're in dresses when their family comes over, and, Mitchell's dad is like, oh my gosh, and Phil and Claire are laughing, and it worked eventually, but it was a really weird way to go about it. And Cole said that he couldn't help but laugh because it was such a dumb way to get things done. And that was superiority theory playing into that. So Modern Family really just gets across homosexuality by using incongruity, superiority. It uses garden paths and preconceived schemas. And though homosexuality is such a tough topic to talk about, they do it in such an eloquent way, such a humorous way, that, it's easy to look over it and laugh at the show. Modern Family has opened up so many doors for equality and equal rights, and I found this extremely eye-opening, and it was nice to be able to talk to some family members and close friends about the whole thing. So let's just hope Modern Family continues to open doors and is the leading foot in the fight for equality.